In a previous video I built the red radio on top, which is an HX108. The one on the bottom is an HX6B, and it's basically a single IF stage AM only radio. The one on top, the red one, is a 2 IF stage AM only radio, and the one on top built, the video is out. It's a very entertaining video. It's a long video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'm very pleased with the performance of the red radio. It seems to work really well. It wasn't too bad to build. There were a few bumps in building it, which are outlined in that video. These kit radios were sent to me by Banggood.com, which is like a Chinese Amazon. It takes items about 2 weeks to get here. Stuff on the website is very cheap. The red radio is about $5.50 shipped, and the blue one a little bit less than that. I want to go ahead and we'll dig into the blue one now and see how it goes. We'll build it, align it, see how it works. We'll compare it to the red one, and let's get going on it. Okay, as in the previous radio, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lay all the parts out separated, and then we'll go over them real quick. Right, here are the components all laid out. Ferrite bar antenna. Let's try that again. Ferrite bar antenna, ferrite antenna coil. Here's the thing that holds the ferrite antenna. It's our audio coupling transformer, IF transformers, transistors, LED, screws, electrolytic capacitors, disc capacitors, resistors, our volume control / on-off switch, connecting wire, variable tuning capacitor. This is a headphone jack. This is the decal that goes on the tuning knob. That's the speaker. This is the tuning knob. That's the volume knob. This is the speaker. We have here our printed circuit board and our instruction schematic. This is the decal right here that goes on the front. So the speaker here is a little bit less significant than in the red radio. As you can see, the red radio uses a much more robust speaker. So I would say right off the bat, spend the extra $1 and get the red radio. I'm going to assemble this. I put the big parts on first. A lot of people say no, put the small parts on first. I just put the big parts on, and that way it gives me kind of a foundation to work around. So let's get to it. The IF transformers are color coded as usual. Red is the oscillator, the first one. White is the second, and black is the last. So next to T2, see that symbol there, character. See the character here. You see the character here. If you look at the resistor color chart, of course, on a resistor, red is number 2. So that character right there for number 2, that little thing right there, lines up with that little character right there. This character here for T3, which is the second IF, lines up with that character there, which number 9 on a resistor is white. So before you build this, print out offline the English resistor color code chart. Now on this circuit board here, they actually have the values printed. So we don't even need to look at the schematic. Just a quick soldering tutorial. This is not hard at all, so what we're going to do is going to load my next IF transformer in there. I've already done the oscillator coil. So T3 would be the white one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load that in there. Okay, so there it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it down so that it stays in here. Just like that. Now let's zoom in here. Okay. Now all I'm going to solder are just the two outside, the two, of course the tripod's getting in the way, the two ground okay, that's all I'm going to do. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my finger on it like this and push down on it. I'm going to reheat it and make sure that it's, yeah, see that side wasn't down, so now it's pushed flat up against the board. Okay, so now what we're going to do is see how tight in on this we can get. About right there. I am trying to do it you don't want to use so much that you bridge the pins. These IF transformers, the pins are much closer together than the bigger ones. It's very awkward watching in a screen. And this is just This is just 60-40 rosin core solder and a 35-watt Weller iron. I'm not using any kind of expensive soldering station. Don't need it. Don't need a $200 soldering station for a $3 kit radio. Okay, here's where this starts to get interesting and the language barrier becomes a problem. So you see that T5 right there? That's the audio coupling transformer. Well, if you look at the transformer, it's got 6 pins coming out of it, 3 on each side, and it goes into the board right here. And we have to figure out which direction that goes in there. It's very possible that the instructions might be contained here. In fact, that's what I would imagine this is about, but this doesn't do me much good. And I doubt it does anyone watching this video any good, because YouTube is blocked in China, so is Facebook. So let's check this out. I think you're gonna need an ohm meter right now. Now, if that's correct, let's get an ohm meter on this and try and identify what's what. Here's what I found. So we have 152.6 ohm between here and here, the two outsides. Between this center pin and this pin here, we have 70 ohms. Between these two pins, we have 70 ohms. So I'm going to say that these two outside are this coil right here, the driver coil. Okay, so one side of the coil connects to the collector of V4 right here, goes right there. The other side connects to one of these current check splits, and I'll show you that. So right here, this one right here connects to our current check split. See how that little circle there has a cut in it? That's to test the current flow into the driver circuit. And then the other side, which is here, connects up here to our transistor, which is V7. So that would be installed correctly. There are several of these current checks. There's one right there, there's one right there, there's one right there. I'm not going to use those, so I'm going to just go ahead and bridge them right now and get rid of them. You can see they correlate to that right there, that right there, that right there. And then it gives you the current reading, so 0.3 milliamps, 0.5 milliamps, 2.2 to 5 milliamps. That way you can individually test each stage and see if it's working. I don't care about that. I don't need to do that. We're going to get it together right the first time. That's what the meter is for. And spending a little extra time to double check. For the transistors, we have a couple different types. We have 9018. For the RF stages, we have a 9014 for the driver, and we have 9013 for the outputs. They're actually marked on the board. See, it says 9018 there, 9018, and they're marked on the transistor. You can see it with a magnifying glass. I'm loading the resistors. The way I'm doing it, I'm cheating a little bit, but I have dual purposes here. I'm measuring the resistor on my meter. So for instance, this is 123 k ohm. Well, there's no such thing, so that would be 120k. Then I find 120k on here, which it says R3. Then I verify R3 over here is 120k, and then I actually verify, I put the resistor through the holes and I verify that it's connected to the right points on here. These are extremely cheap resistors, and the color codes are kind of all the same color almost. Very, very little definition in the color. The resistors have all been populated and checked, and they're all good in the right place. Now I'll do the disc capacitors. We've got 3 different values, 103, or is it 102? Okay, 103, which is 0.01. Then we got 682, which is 0.00868. 0.0068, 682. And then 223, which is 0.022. These are non-polarized, just put them in however. Next thing is the electrolytics. These are polarized. One side is marked with negative. If I could get it to roll around. You can see, marked with, oh man. See, marked with negative. And that one's marked with negative, and that white line, that negative, corresponds with the white shaded area here, and I verified that on the bottom of the board. So we'll load the electrolytics in now. This right here has got to be for this here, how this hooks up, because that would probably mean 10 turns and 100 turns. And this ABCD correlates to ABCD here. Well, it's kind of working. This battery is very low, 2 volts. But I just turned it on and that's what it's doing. Let me try and get a 3-volt battery.
You've already cited to make sure that the portfolio is
of the aisle, with many feeling the president hasn't denounced the white supremacist movement enough. So the White House has issued a new statement saying, quote, the president said in his statement yesterday, he condemns all forms of violence, bigotry, and hatred. To build into the
five warning. And sure enough, in 5 minutes he started talking, and it was very hard to make out what he was saying because people were shouting over him.
On face today, said nearly.
Staff General Joseph Dunford is traveling in Asia for meetings with Saturday on the LA chart.
It sounds very weak. Almost like the speaker is bad. Sounds very weak.
Making their way back over to City Hall, many of them carrying signs. This woman's sign read, my family survived Auschwitz and we will survive this. We will not tolerate hate. We are a country of inclusivity, of diversity. We didn't go to World War II to fight Nazism and let it rise back up in this country. We will not let the KKK or anybody else threaten people or hurt people. And while they are standing up against the violence and the hatred there, many
What is this woman talking about?
Who, of course, was killed when a car plowed into a crowd of counter-protesters.
Okay.
Downtown LA, Margaret.
So this, by the way, is a 3-volt battery out of one of those Eternal Life smoke alarms that only last a year, and it measures right on 3 volts. Anyway, we have not done the alignment yet. We'll do that next. The screw here stripped out, so I'm going to try and Loctite that, and I don't know why it's stripped out, just cheap, I guess. I got to apply this sticker right here to the knob on front, which means I'm going to have to kind of mark it and sweep back and forth and find an even spot from top to bottom in the middle. Unlike the red radio, this one is not marked on the knob. And let's see. Besides that, it sounds okay. Lackluster sensitivity, but maybe that'll wake up when we align it. Oh, the LED. So you see how I have the LED installed right there? Right there. So the LED just presses up against the plastic front. That's kind of close. Not really. It's off a little bit. Whatever. Alright, well, there ain't no sticky on the bottom of this to hold it to here, so I guess I'll have to figure that out myself. Let's do a quick alignment. I'll just put it there on kind of a weak station. Just gonna peak these two here. Okay, that's 570, so I need to shift that down to about right there. And we move the placement of the dial, the stations in the dial with the oscillator coil and one of these two. God, that feels cheap. Did I just break it? This is the antenna trimmer. You peak this for station loudness at the top of the band. Okay, let me try and show you how to align the bottom end. And I'm on 570 AM, and what I'm going to do, this is going to be very hard with the tripod in the way. So I got This finger here is on the tuning control. Oh man, this is going to be hard with the tripod in the way, because I got to keep my hand away from the antenna. Okay, so I'm going to use my left hand. As I turn the oscillator coil, I'm going to move the position of this station on the band, but I'm going to keep correcting that with my left hand, my finger here, and we should find a peak. Getting weaker going that way.
Takagi.com to learn more. When you were a kid, it was the greatest game of all, and it still is. But today, you've got a lot more on your mind. Retirement might seem like the greatest challenge of all, one that's hard to plan for. Let Security Benefit help you level the retirement playing field with a solid game plan to help build and protect your future. Talk to your financial advisor today to help you to and through your retirement. Security Benefit, sponsor of the LA Dodgers. The Dodger, Dan Patrick. It's Colin Cowherd. Dan Patrick and the Herd back to back. Weekday mornings 9 to noon on your home of the Dodger. AM 570 LA Sports. Dodgers take a 5-4 lead heading into the bottom half. Receiver Justin Turner.
Putting that one in the middle. Okay, I can't. This tripod's killing me. So at the top of the band, if I go back down to 570,
Dodgers 5-4, one out in the bottom of the eighth. Jose Valdez in his second inning of relief for San Diego. We've never seen a defense in the outfield like this one. Turner with a fly ball to left. I don't think the defense has anything to do with this one. It is.
so at the bottom of the band I get a peak with it wide open. Now if I go to the top of the band, I get a peak with it down just a little bit. I'm looking at this gap right here. I get a peak with it just a little bit down. So I'm going to compromise and go halfway in between the two. We're going to do a quick IF alignment on this with the signal generator. This is really not necessary, but it will help for peak performance to have the IF cans aligned to their design spec. So right now it appears to be set to 510. And I don't know if this is supposed to be 455 or 465. So I'm going to nail it to 460. That's the camera interfering. Jeez. That's... Well, didn't want to do that. Let's see, 480. Let's bring it into 480. Bring it to 470. Let's bring it into 460. You can hear how much more sensitive the radio sounds now. Okay, I've got this thing aligned as good as I can. It's not that great. Next thing I'll do is glue everything together, glue the thing on the front, the decal on the front. And I didn't align it for the marker to be on the station on the decal. I aligned it for maximum sensitivity. So we'll glue the speaker in, we'll glue the decal on, and we'll put it together and do a channel sweep. I recommend the red one for $1 more. It's 10 times or 100 times the radio. This was fun. It was very easy with the component values marked on the board. Works pretty good. But I would definitely go with that one.
No matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag. And we are all made by the same Almighty God.
Alright, I glued the speaker in and I glued the front on using something I shouldn't have. You can see the dark areas here. This is basically like contact cement, and it's this yellowish color. I shouldn't have used that. I should have used, I don't know. I wish it had sticky on the back of it. Yeah, it looks worse in the camera than in person. Alright, let's do a quick channel sweep. I'll tell you right now, not as impressive as the red one. Buy the red one.
Just because I had my nose fixed, not for cosmetic purposes, but because
That buzzing is caused by the camera.
in the name of bigotry, strike at the very core of America. 2 days ago, a young American woman, Heather Heyer, was tragically killed. Her death fills us with grief, and we...
To the same degree as we've seen previously when investors in Wall Street get really nervous.
we will break down Game of Thrones on Wednesdays. Jerusalem. We read about this now in the first few verses of the 6th chapter. Again, David gathered together all the chosen men of 30,000. when you talk to older legislators, you know, they remember when people had polio. They're both dead and rotting in hell. Or worse than rotting. But seriously, if somebody says that into your journal, or you're not a righty kind of person, like your handwriting's really bad. Wondering how go down was just off to the side, because you think that you wouldn't get a car to be allowed that close with a group of people. We have these concerns, you know.
Well, the car, what happened was the rally began in Emancipation Park, what used to be Lee Park, and it wasn't long before it descended into hell, and the police had to declare unlawful assembly and told everyone to go away, and they did, most of them. The ones who stayed behind were the counter-protesters that had permits to be at two parks about 2 blocks away. The attack with the car happened a couple hours later, and where this happened, traffic was legal and allowed. It wasn't a matter of he plowed through a police line where you weren't allowed to drive. They were in a place that was quite a few blocks away from the downtown mall and from the park. So that's something that may be misunderstood. This was not a stone's throw away. This was several blocks away where it happened.
Entonces, ¿por qué se lo reclamaba?
Yeah, fair performance. Fair performance. Mostly for the stronger stations. I'd recommend going with the red one. That's it. Thanks for watching. I noticed a lot of comments on a previous video about how the sound quality of this model was subpar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble another one since I got the 3-pack, and I'm going to try a few different speakers adding on to this video just to see if we can improve the sound quality a little bit. Okay, the second HX6B kit radio is built, and this takes me about an hour to do these now. I've got them down. I think a lot of the problem with the sound quality of this is the speaker, which is easily upgradable or changeable with another 2-inch speaker that'll fit in. So I'm going to align it off camera, and then we'll do a sound comparison between this speaker and maybe a speaker out of an old PC or another 2 or 2.5-inch speaker. Let's try a little speaker upgrade with this radio. You can see this is the stock speaker here that comes with it, and these 3 are speakers that are exactly the same size that came out of like Pentium 1, Pentium 2 PCs that I EOL'd. And you can see the actual cone size difference. The cone is substantially larger on the regular 2.5-inch or whatever size these are, metric, I'm sure. And this fits just fine in here without interfering with anything. Okay, this is the one with the factory speaker. It has this little tiny speaker in it. So let's have a listen.
Immediate future. DACA activists will be showing force this week in Southern California. Several civil rights groups will be holding Rise Up for DACA events.
Okay, that's the small. This is the bigger speaker.
Downtown LA. The program allows people who were brought into the U.S. illegally as children to work and study in the country without fear of being deported, but it's facing the threat of extinction by President Trump. UC President Janet Napolitano talked to KNX about how the system is working around affirmative action. She says UC is bound by state law.
We're doing is focusing on...
Not a huge difference, but these speakers are super common, and like I say, every old Pentium 1 and Pentium 2 PC had these in there. Just grab one and pull it out. So that's a little upgrade you can do to this radio. And the size doesn't interfere at all. You can see they're exactly the same size. It's just the cone and magnet is smaller. I do need to add this. These are much less efficient. This is way louder than these two, and this one here is even louder than the other three. So this is the best selection out of all three. But yeah, the ones with the bigger magnets are much less efficient. Alright, I ran across two of these today, and they're plastic coned speakers out of some child's toy I found on the street in EOL'd. And this is the best. Pretty good efficiency, almost as good as the one that came with it, and sounds the best.
Visit online at northridgesuits.com and be sure to watch out for their new location in Valencia. Coming soon. Northridge Suit and Tux. Upgrade your status.
I wanna stand up from the crowd. Make you shout my name out loud. 'Cause I'm a Northridge guy.
If you haven't seen my video on the HX108-2, which is the red radio, go watch at least the beginning of it. This is a rural low signal environment test, and this one actually works okay. You can barely hear KNX, but it is coming in.